Have you ever wondered why negative thoughts seem to creep in so easily, even when things are going well? Why is it that one small setback can cloud your entire day, or one harsh word can echo in your mind for hours? And most importantly, how can you stop these thoughts from taking control of your peace? Imagine this. You're walking on a quiet path, enjoying the beauty around you. But suddenly, a single thorn pierces your foot. Instead of enjoying the rest of the path, all your attention shifts to the pain. This is exactly how negative thoughts work. They pull your focus away from everything good in your life and magnify the pain. But the question is, can you remove this thorn before it ruins your entire journey? Welcome to Wisdom Woven, your space for practical, life-changing insights inspired by timeless teachings. Today, we'll uncover how you can remove negative thoughts from your mind using wisdom from Buddhism. These teachings aren't just ancient ideas. They're tools you can apply in your everyday life to find clarity and calm. Before we dive in, let's address one simple truth. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers subscribe. If you find value in these videos, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring these transformative lessons to more people like you. Now, let's begin with the heart of the matter. Negative thoughts aren't just random. They stem from patterns deeply rooted in our minds. Buddhism teaches that these thoughts arise from attachments, expectations, and fear. By understanding these roots, you can learn to untangle the thoughts that hold you back. Take, for example, the Buddhist concept of right view, a way of seeing the world with clarity and compassion. When you adopt this perspective, you realize that many negative thoughts are based on distorted perceptions. They aren't as real or powerful as they seem. The key is to be aware. Awareness is the first step to breaking free. Negative thoughts thrive in the shadows of your mind, but when you shine the light of mindfulness on them, they lose their grip. Instead of reacting to them, you observe them. You become the master of your thoughts, not their victim. Through this video series, you will learn how to use mindfulness, compassion, and meditation to create a mental space that is free from negativity. These are not just practices. They are a way of living, a path to freedom. So, stay with us as we explore these powerful teachings step by step. Your journey to a clear, peaceful mind begins here. Understanding the roots of negative thoughts. Sit down, my friend, and let us explore the roots of your suffering. Negative thoughts do not come from nowhere. They are not ghosts haunting you or random storms passing by. They have roots, deep, tangled roots that grow within the soil of your mind. And only by understanding these roots can you begin to free yourself. Let me ask you this. Have you ever pulled a weed from a garden? If you yank it out quickly, leaving part of the root in the ground, it grows back even stronger. The same is true for negative thoughts. If you try to suppress them without understanding where they come from, they return, often more powerful than before. Negative thoughts grow from three main roots, as the Buddha taught: ignorance, attachment, and aversion. These are called the three poisons. Let us uncover them one by one. The first root, ignorance, is like darkness in a room. When you cannot see clearly, you stumble and fall. Ignorance blinds you to the true nature of life. It makes you believe that the world should always align with your desires, that everything should go your way. But life is not meant to bend to your will. It flows like a river, sometimes calm, sometimes wild. Ignorance feeds negative thoughts by making you resist this flow, by making you believe that suffering is unfair or unnatural. The second root, attachment, is like holding tightly to a rope. The harder you grip, the more your hands hurt. Attachment makes you cling to things, people, or ideas, thinking they will bring you happiness. But happiness cannot be chained. When you hold on too tightly, fear arises, the fear of losing what you love. And when that fear takes hold, it breeds negative thoughts. What if I fail? What if they leave me? What if this doesn't last? The third root, aversion, is the flip side of attachment. While attachment makes you cling, aversion makes you push away. It is the resistance you feel toward anything unpleasant. I don't want this pain. I don't want this problem. I don't want this moment. But what happens when you resist? The pain becomes sharper, the problem feels heavier, and the moment feels unbearable. Aversion fuels negative thoughts by making you fight what is already here. These three roots, ignorance, attachment, and aversion, are the source of all your mental suffering. But here is the good news. Roots can be pulled out. Not quickly, not forcefully, but with patience and wisdom. To begin, you must develop awareness. When a negative thought arises, do not push it away or try to hide from it. Instead, look at it closely. Ask yourself, where did this thought come from? Is it born from ignorance? Am I clinging to something or resisting something? This act of questioning is like shining a light into the darkness. For example, let's say you are consumed by the thought, I am not good enough. Where does this thought come from? Perhaps it is rooted in attachment, a desire to be perfect, to be accepted by others. Or perhaps it is rooted in ignorance, a false belief that your worth depends on what you achieve. By understanding the root, you take away the thought's power. Now, let us talk about a powerful antidote to these roots: mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of observing your thoughts without judgment. Imagine standing on the bank of a river, watching leaves float by. Each leaf is a thought. You do not chase the leaves, and you do not try to stop the river. You simply observe. This is mindfulness. When you practice mindfulness, you create space between yourself and your thoughts. You begin to see that negative thoughts are not you. They are like clouds passing through the sky of your mind. They come and go, but the sky remains untouched. Another tool is acceptance. When you stop resisting what is, you free yourself from aversion. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means seeing reality as it is. For example, if you are angry, do not fight the anger. Instead, acknowledge it. This is anger. It has arisen because I am resisting something. By naming it, you take away its sting. Finally, you must cultivate compassion, both for yourself and for others. Negative thoughts often arise from harsh self-criticism or resentment toward others. But when you soften your heart, when you replace judgment with kindness, the roots of negativity begin to wither. Remember, my friend, this is not a battle to be fought or a problem to be solved overnight. The roots of negative thoughts have grown over years, perhaps decades. Be patient with yourself. Each step you take in understanding these roots is a step toward freedom. Let me leave you with this thought. The mind is like a garden. If you neglect it, weeds will grow. But if you tend to it with care, removing the roots of negativity and planting seeds of wisdom and compassion, it will bloom with peace and joy. The choice is yours. Sit with these teachings. Reflect on them. And when you are ready, take the next step on this path. Negative thoughts are not your enemy. They are your teachers, guiding you to greater clarity and peace. The Buddhist perspective on mindfulness. In the world of constant motion, where thoughts, feelings, and distractions swirl like a whirlwind, there lies a simple practice that brings calm. A practice so profound, yet so simple, that it can completely transform your life. This practice is called mindfulness. But what exactly is mindfulness, and how can it help remove the negative thoughts that cloud your mind? Mindfulness, in its simplest form, is the art of being present. It means paying attention, on purpose, to what is happening right now, without judgment. Often, we find ourselves lost in the past or anxiously worrying about the future. Our minds are like clouds, drifting in every direction. But mindfulness is like the clear sky. It allows us to see clearly and experience life as it unfolds, without being weighed down by unnecessary thoughts. Imagine sitting quietly in a room. Your mind begins to wander, as it always does. It drifts to a conversation you had earlier in the day or to an upcoming meeting. The thoughts come and go, and before you know it, you've lost touch with the present moment. This is the nature of the mind. It seeks to wander, to dwell on what has happened or what might happen. But mindfulness is the key to bringing it back, to focusing on the present moment and breaking the cycle of negative thinking. In Buddhism, mindfulness is not just a mental practice. It's a way of living. It's the way a Zen master walks, the way a monk meditates, the way a layperson can approach each moment. When we are mindful, we bring awareness to everything we do. Whether we are eating, walking, or washing dishes, mindfulness teaches us to be fully present in whatever action we are engaged in. Now, you may wonder, how does this relate to negative thoughts? When we are fully engaged in the present, our minds do not have room to wander into negativity. Negative thoughts often arise when we focus too much on what we cannot control, like the past or the future. Mindfulness, however, teaches us to stay focused on what is happening right now. It helps us become aware of the thoughts that enter our minds and, more importantly, it allows us to choose not to get lost in them. In Buddhism, mindfulness is often paired with another powerful tool, awareness. Awareness goes hand in hand with mindfulness. When you are aware of your thoughts, you can observe them without becoming entangled in them. This means you can witness a negative thought, like, "I'm not good enough," and recognize it for what it is, just a thought, not a truth. Many times, negative thoughts take root because we don't notice them until they've already affected us. They spiral out of control because we've given them power by not acknowledging them. But the moment you become aware of a negative thought, you create a space between the thought and your reaction. This space is where you can choose a different path, where you can decide not to follow the negativity. Mindfulness teaches us that our thoughts are not permanent. They come and go. By simply observing them, without judgment or attachment, we can let them pass like clouds in the sky. The more we practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to recognize when a negative thought has taken hold and gently let it go. Here's an example. Imagine you've had a difficult day. You feel upset, angry, and frustrated. These feelings begin to cloud your mind. But then, you practice mindfulness. You close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath, and observe the feelings and thoughts that arise. Instead of letting them control you, you acknowledge them. You don't push them away or judge them as bad. You simply notice, these are thoughts of frustration. These are feelings of anger. You create distance between yourself and the thought, and in doing so, you gain control over it. This is mindfulness in action. It is not about getting rid of negative thoughts, but about changing your relationship with them. Instead of being ruled by them, you learn to be present with them, and they lose their power. Buddhism also teaches us that mindfulness is not just about sitting quietly in meditation. It's about bringing mindfulness into every part of your life. When you are eating, focus on the food in front of you. When you are walking, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you are talking to someone, truly listen to their words. Each moment becomes an opportunity to practice mindfulness. And as you practice, you begin to notice something remarkable. You become less reactive. You stop jumping to conclusions, overthinking, or getting caught up in your emotions. You become more present, more peaceful, and more aware of the beauty in your everyday life. Mindfulness also encourages us to practice non-judgment. Often, we judge our thoughts, especially the negative ones. We think, "I shouldn't be thinking this," or "this is bad." But when you judge your thoughts, you give them more power. You feed the cycle of negativity. Buddhism teaches that, instead of judgment, we should cultivate an attitude of acceptance. When we accept our thoughts and feelings without judgment, we allow them to pass naturally, without clinging to them. This non-judgmental awareness is what allows us to remove negativity. It is not about forcefully pushing away negative thoughts, but about letting them be without attaching to them. They arise, and then they fall away. By practicing mindfulness, you begin to see your thoughts more clearly, and you begin to see how they are just passing phenomena, not your true self. In essence, mindfulness is the practice of observing life as it is. It's about being fully present with whatever arises, without getting caught up in the past or the future. And it's through this presence that we begin to remove negative thoughts from our minds. To bring this back to Buddhism, mindfulness is one of the Noble Eightfold Path teachings. It is a central practice that leads to enlightenment. It is the way to cultivate a peaceful and clear mind. As you integrate mindfulness into your life, you will find that negative thoughts have less and less power over you. You will begin to live with a sense of calm and clarity, no matter what life throws your way. This practice of mindfulness is not a one-time fix. It's something you build over time, step by step, breath by breath. But as you continue, you will see that the more present you become, the less space there is for negativity to take root. You begin to live in the moment, and in doing so, you free yourself from the grip of negative thoughts. So, the next time you find yourself lost in a swirl of negative thoughts, remember mindfulness. Take a deep breath, bring your attention to the present, and observe the thoughts that arise. Let them be, and as they pass, notice how much lighter you feel. This is the power of mindfulness. the ability to create peace in the midst of chaos. Cultivating compassion to dissolve negativity. In the stillness of a quiet mind, negativity seems out of place. But as we go through life, it's easy for negative thoughts to slip in unnoticed. These thoughts, however, often arise from the seed of selfishness, when we are focused on our own pain, desires, and frustrations. But there is a path that leads us away from this negative cycle, a path that not only clears our mind but transforms our life, the path of compassion. Compassion is more than just feeling sorry for someone. It is a deep, genuine wish for others to be free from suffering. When we cultivate compassion, we shift our focus away from ourselves. Instead of holding on to grudges or resentments, we learn to understand the pain of others and respond with kindness. This shift doesn't just benefit others, it heals us as well. Think of a time when someone was kind to you during a difficult moment. Perhaps they said a simple word of encouragement, or maybe they just listened when you needed it the most. How did that make you feel? In that moment, you might have felt a warmth that softened your pain, even if only for a little while. That is the power of compassion. It works in the same way when we offer it to ourselves and to others. Buddhism teaches us that all beings experience suffering. Whether it's physical pain, emotional turmoil, or mental stress, suffering is part of life. But what Buddhism also teaches is that we are not alone in this suffering. When we recognize the shared experience of suffering, compassion arises naturally. We begin to see that the pain of others is not separate from our own. This understanding allows us to dissolve negative thoughts. When we focus on alleviating the suffering of others, our own suffering is often lessened as well. At first, this may seem difficult. It's not always easy to have compassion for someone who has hurt us or disappointed us. But consider this. When you hold on to anger or resentment, you are only feeding your own suffering. The other person may not even be aware of your pain. The only one who suffers is you. By cultivating compassion, we take our power back. We choose to free ourselves from the chains of negativity. Instead of harboring ill will, we recognize that the other person is struggling in their own way. They, too, are dealing with their own pain. When we understand this, compassion naturally follows. This is not to say that we should ignore harmful behavior. Compassion does not mean we allow ourselves to be mistreated. It means we recognize the humanity in others, even when they act in ways that cause us harm. We respond with kindness, not because they deserve it, but because it frees us from the weight of anger and bitterness. Let's imagine for a moment. You're walking down a path, and someone bumps into you. They don't apologize. They don't even acknowledge your presence. Your initial reaction might be to feel angry or upset. How could they be so careless? But if you pause for a moment and consider the possibility that this person may be having a difficult day, struggling with their own worries, your anger may soften. Instead of reacting with frustration, you may find yourself feeling a little sympathy for them. This is compassion at work. It allows you to see beyond the surface of behavior and understand the deeper struggles that others may be facing. In Buddhism, there is a practice called metta bhavana, loving-kindness meditation. This meditation helps us develop an attitude of compassion towards ourselves and others. It begins by directing loving kindness toward ourselves, allowing us to feel warmth and acceptance. From there, we expand our compassion to others, first to those we love, then to neutral people, and finally to those we may have conflict with. By practicing this meditation regularly, we train our minds to respond to the world with compassion, rather than judgment or negativity. As we practice compassion, we begin to notice something remarkable. The more we cultivate compassion for others, the more we begin to feel peace within ourselves. The weight of negative thoughts, grudges, and resentments begins to lift. We no longer feel the need to hold on to the things that once troubled us. Instead of focusing on our own discomfort, we learn to focus on relieving the discomfort of others. This shift is powerful. It doesn't mean we ignore our own pain, but we see it in the context of a larger picture. By turning our attention outward, we give ourselves the opportunity to heal. The negative thoughts that once consumed us lose their hold. Compassion acts like a balm, soothing the wounds of the mind and heart. But it's important to remember that cultivating compassion is a practice. It's not something that happens overnight. Just like a garden, compassion needs to be nurtured. Some days, it may come easily, and other days, it may feel more difficult. That's okay. The key is to keep going, to continue practicing, and to be patient with yourself. One of the most profound aspects of compassion is that it's never wasted. Even if the person you are offering compassion to doesn't respond in kind, it still benefits you. When you give compassion, you are filling your own heart with love and peace. You are removing the weeds of negativity and replacing them with seeds of kindness. In this way, compassion becomes a tool for transforming our thoughts and our lives. It helps us let go of the bitterness that often poisons our minds. Instead of reacting to every slight, we begin to respond with patience and understanding. This change in response isn't just beneficial to others, it leads to a more peaceful, joyful life for us as well. As we develop compassion, we learn to forgive, not just others, but ourselves as well. Often, we are our own harshest critics. We hold on to guilt, shame, and regret, which only fuels negative thoughts. But when we cultivate compassion, we allow ourselves the grace to heal. We understand that, like everyone else, we are imperfect, and that's okay. By forgiving ourselves, we free our minds from the grip of negativity. Now, this doesn't mean we ignore the mistakes of others or let ourselves be hurt repeatedly. Compassion allows us to set boundaries while still maintaining a loving heart. We learn to protect ourselves without closing off to the world. We stop holding on to the anger, frustration, or bitterness that once ruled our thoughts. Instead, we replace them with a calm understanding and a willingness to heal. The more you practice compassion, the more you'll see the positive changes in your mind. The thoughts that once seemed so overwhelming and negative begin to lose their power. Compassion shifts your energy from one of conflict to one of peace. And with peace in your heart, it becomes easier to face the challenges of life without being consumed by negativity. Remember, each moment offers a new opportunity to practice compassion. Whether it's in the way you treat yourself, others, or the world around you, every action can be a step toward a clearer, more peaceful mind. As you embrace this practice, you'll find that negativity no longer has the same power over you. Instead, you'll walk through life with a heart full of kindness and a mind free from the weight of negativity. By cultivating compassion, you create a space within yourself where negativity cannot thrive. You become a beacon of peace, not just for yourself, but for everyone you encounter. And in this way, you not only heal your own mind, but you also help to heal the world around you. Compassion is a gift you give to yourself and to others. The role of meditation in mental clarity. In this quiet moment, as you sit, close your eyes, and take a breath, do you ever notice the stillness that exists beneath the noise of your mind? The world is full of distractions, rushing thoughts, and endless chatter. Yet, within you, there is a space of peace that is always present, if only you know how to access it. Meditation is the practice that allows you to tap into this inner calm. It's not about stopping your thoughts or escaping from the world. Instead, it's about observing the mind's activity from a place of calm, without getting caught in the current. Just as a cloud may drift across the sky, your thoughts come and go, but you remain the sky, vast, still, and unaffected. The mind is like a pond. When it's disturbed, the surface becomes cloudy, and you cannot see the depth of the water beneath. Similarly, when your thoughts are busy, filled with worries and judgments, you cannot see your true nature. Meditation is the practice of calming the surface of the pond, allowing the waters to settle so that the clarity beneath can emerge. At first, you may find it difficult. The mind is like a restless child, constantly moving, searching for something to hold on to. But this is natural. Every time you notice your thoughts wandering, simply bring your focus back to your breath, to your body, to the present moment. With practice, you train the mind to be still, like a calm lake at dawn. In Buddhism, meditation is often referred to as the path to liberation. It is a way to free yourself from the grip of negativity, fear, and attachment. Through meditation, you begin to see things as they truly are, not colored by your judgments or expectations. You observe your thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. You recognize that they are not you. You are the observer, not the thought itself. One of the most common forms of meditation in Buddhism is anapanasati, the mindfulness of breathing. It's simple yet profound. You focus on the sensation of the breath as it enters and leaves your body. Each breath is a reminder that you are alive, right here, right now. As you pay attention to the breath, you also become aware of your thoughts, but you don't chase them. You simply notice them and let them go. In this way, meditation helps to break the cycle of negative thinking. It brings you back to the present moment where you are not defined by past regrets or future anxieties. You are simply you, whole, complete, and at peace. It's important to remember that meditation is not about forcing the mind into stillness. It's about allowing the mind to find its natural state of peace. Just as you cannot rush a flower to bloom, you cannot rush your mind to be still. But with time and patience, the flowers of clarity, peace, and understanding will bloom on their own. Think of meditation as a tool to rewire your mind. It's like tuning a musical instrument. At first, the strings are out of tune, and the sound may be jarring. But with each practice, the instrument becomes more harmonious, and the music flows naturally. The more you practice meditation, the more your mind will return to its natural state of calm and clarity. One of the most powerful aspects of meditation is that it teaches you to be with yourself. In the stillness, you can learn to accept everything as it is. The negative thoughts that arise are not seen as enemies, but as guests passing through. You don't need to react to them, and you don't need to chase them away. You simply observe them, and they fade on their own. Many people struggle with meditation because they expect instant results. But the truth is, the benefits of meditation are not always immediately visible. Just as a seed needs time to grow into a tree, the results of meditation take time to manifest. But over time, you will notice subtle shifts. You will find yourself reacting less to the ups and downs of life. You will feel more grounded, embracing impermanence to let go of negativity. The first thing we must understand in our quest to remove negativity from our minds is that everything in life is constantly changing. Nothing stays the same. This truth is known as impermanence, one of the fundamental teachings in Buddhism. Impermanence is not just about the seasons or the passage of time. It's about everything. Every thought, feeling, and experience we have is fleeting. Imagine that you are sitting beside a river. The water flows past you, constantly moving, never stopping. You cannot hold on to the water. You cannot stop it from flowing. You simply watch as it passes. Our thoughts, too, flow like that river. They come and go, and trying to hold on to them, especially the negative ones, only brings pain. Many of us hold on to negative thoughts because we mistakenly believe they are permanent, that they define us. We think, I am anxious, or I am upset, and we tie ourselves to those feelings. But when we truly understand that everything is impermanent, we begin to let go. Those thoughts do not have to define us. They are just passing through, like clouds in the sky. The more we grasp onto them, the heavier they become. The more we let go, the lighter our minds become. It's important to remember that impermanence is not just about letting go of negative thoughts. It also means that the positive moments, the moments of happiness, will not last forever either. This is both a relief and a challenge. If we can accept that happiness, like sadness, is temporary, we stop chasing after it with desperation. We stop thinking that it must last forever to be worth something. When we release our expectations, we can fully appreciate the present moment for what it is, knowing it will not last forever. There is a powerful teaching in Buddhism known as the Four Noble Truths. These truths reveal that suffering is a part of life, but it is also possible to overcome suffering. The key is understanding that suffering arises when we try to hold on to things that are impermanent, like our negative thoughts or the fleeting nature of happiness and success. When we hold on to them too tightly, we create attachment. This attachment leads to suffering. The Buddha teaches us that suffering is not something to fear, but something to understand. When we understand the nature of suffering and impermanence, we can begin to release our attachment to it. We learn to accept that life is full of both joy and pain, but neither lasts forever. And that, in itself, is a relief. When we can embrace impermanence, we no longer fear the inevitable changes that come in life. In our daily lives, we encounter situations that cause negative thoughts to arise. Maybe someone says something unkind to us, or something doesn't go as planned. We often react by clinging to these moments, replaying them over and over in our minds. But when we understand impermanence, we can let those moments go. We can remind ourselves that what we are feeling right now is not permanent. Just as the clouds move across the sky, our feelings will pass. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you're walking down the street and someone bumps into you. They don't apologize, and you feel angry. You might replay that moment in your mind, thinking, "How rude! Why didn't they say sorry?" But as you continue walking, that moment fades. The anger, too, will fade if you allow it. But if you cling to the anger, if you tell yourself, "I am angry, and I will stay angry," you create more suffering for yourself. The anger becomes a burden. But by embracing the reality that feelings, like everything else, are impermanent, you can let go of that anger. This doesn't mean you have to suppress your emotions. No, Buddhism does not teach us to bottle up our feelings. Instead, it encourages us to notice them, to accept them, and then to let them pass. When we truly accept that feelings, both negative and positive, are impermanent, we no longer feel the need to hold on to them. They come and go. And in this freedom, we find peace. To understand impermanence deeply, we need to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about observing our thoughts and feelings as they arise and pass, without clinging to them or pushing them away. When we practice mindfulness, we see that all things, including our thoughts, emotions, and experiences, are impermanent. By observing them without attachment, we can let go of negativity more easily. One of the most beautiful aspects of embracing impermanence is the realization that change is not something to fear. Instead, change is something to welcome. In fact, change is the only constant in life. When we accept that everything is changing, we can let go of our desire for things to stay the same. We stop resisting change and start flowing with it. Just like the river, we let the current carry us, knowing that everything is in a state of transformation. This understanding brings us closer to the truth of life. We begin to understand that we are not our thoughts. Our thoughts, just like our emotions, come and go. They don't define who we are. We are not the angry thoughts that arise in our minds, nor the anxious thoughts that grip us. We are the awareness that observes them. And this awareness is constant, while everything else changes. The more we practice embracing impermanence, the more peaceful our minds become. When we stop trying to hold on to things, whether they are negative thoughts, feelings, or expectations, we create space for peace and clarity. We begin to live more fully in the present moment, without being burdened by the past or the future. But how do we begin this practice in our daily lives? It starts with simple awareness. The next time you feel a negative thought arise, try to observe it without attachment. Notice how it feels in your body. Is it tightness in your chest? A heaviness in your mind? Then remind yourself that this thought, this feeling, is impermanent. It will pass. Just like the weather, it will change. You don't have to hold on to it. It's important to be kind to ourselves during this practice. It's easy to feel frustrated when negative thoughts don't seem to go away. But remember, just as the river flows naturally, so do our thoughts. We cannot control the flow of the river, but we can choose to watch it without getting swept away by it. The more we practice, the easier it becomes to release negativity and to embrace the present moment with acceptance. In Buddhism, the practice of embracing impermanence is closely tied to the idea of non-attachment. Non-attachment doesn't mean not caring or being indifferent. It means not clinging to things, knowing that they are not permanent and that our true peace comes from within, not from the external world. When we let go of our attachment to negative thoughts, we free ourselves from suffering. As we walk the path of impermanence, we learn to appreciate each moment for what it is, without trying to hold on to it. This doesn't mean we become passive or disengage with life. On the contrary, it means we engage with life more fully, knowing that each moment is unique and precious. We stop waiting for things to stay the same and instead enjoy the flow of life as it is, right now. Ultimately, embracing impermanence leads us to freedom. We no longer fear change, we no longer fear loss, and we no longer fear negative thoughts. We know that everything, even our own pain, will pass. And in this understanding, we find peace, the power of right speech and thought. In the stillness of the morning, when the mind is quiet, it becomes clear. The thoughts you carry, the words you speak, they shape your world. It is said that your words are like seeds. The seeds you plant today will grow into the reality you experience tomorrow. And the beauty is, you hold the power to choose which seeds you plant. When we speak, we do so without realizing how deeply our words affect us and others. Buddhism teaches us to practice right speech, one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. Right speech is not just about the words you use, but the intention behind them. It is a practice of speaking with honesty, kindness, and purpose. When we speak from a place of clarity, we are not only expressing ourselves but also shaping the world around us. Every word you speak carries energy. Just like a pebble thrown into a pond, it creates ripples that extend far beyond the moment. If your words are full of anger, criticism, or negativity, those ripples will spread outward, affecting others and even returning to you. But if your words are kind, thoughtful, and peaceful, the ripples they create will bring peace to your surroundings and your own heart. The Buddha said, "Speak only if it improves upon the silence." This wisdom is an invitation to reflect before speaking. It asks us to consider, will my words help, heal, or harm? Will they bring peace, or will they stir up conflict? Right speech encourages us to speak only when it serves a higher purpose. But what if negativity arises in the form of thoughts, not words? The mind often generates thoughts that are harsh, judgmental, or unkind. Right thought is the foundation upon which right speech stands. If your thoughts are clouded with negativity, your words will reflect that. It is through right thought that we begin to transform our inner world, clearing the way for right speech to flow naturally. Right thought is the practice of cultivating thoughts that are pure, kind, and free from selfish desires. The Buddha taught that to develop right thought, we must learn to observe our thoughts without attachment. We do not need to act on every thought that arises. Instead, we can choose which thoughts to nurture and which ones to let go. Imagine a garden filled with weeds. If you allow the weeds to grow unchecked, they will take over, crowding out the flowers. But if you take the time to pull the weeds and care for the flowers, the garden will bloom with beauty. Your thoughts are the same. When you allow negative or harmful thoughts to take root, they grow into something that poisons your mind. But when you focus on nurturing positive, loving, and peaceful thoughts, your mind becomes a garden of tranquility. When negative thoughts arise, and they will, recognize them for what they are, passing clouds in the sky. Do not attach to them, do not react to them. Instead, let them float by, knowing they will soon be replaced by clearer skies. By practicing right thought, you create a space where negative thoughts cannot linger. To speak with kindness, we must first think with kindness. If you find your thoughts filled with anger, frustration, or judgment, pause and take a breath. Instead of reacting immediately, step back and observe. What is the true nature of this thought? Why has it arisen? Is it rooted in fear, insecurity, or a desire for control? The Buddha encourages us to replace harmful thoughts with thoughts of compassion. Imagine someone you care about deeply. Now, think of a situation where they are suffering. What would you say to them to ease their pain? Speak to yourself in the same way. Offer yourself the same compassion you would offer to a loved one. When you cultivate compassion in your thoughts, your words naturally become more gentle, more supportive. You begin to speak not only to others, but also to yourself with kindness. In this way, right speech becomes a practice of self-compassion. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes to speak from a place of love and understanding. But what happens when we fall short? What happens when our words are unkind, or our thoughts are filled with negativity? The path of Buddhism is not one of perfection, but of progress. It is not about never making mistakes. It is about learning from them and moving forward. When you slip, gently acknowledge the mistake without judgment. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would show a friend. Sometimes, negativity arises because of the stories we tell ourselves. The mind loves to create narratives, to interpret events in a way that feeds our fears or our sense of inadequacy. Right thought invites us to question these stories. Are they true? Are they based on reality? Or are they shaped by our biases, fears, or past experiences? Through mindfulness and meditation, we can begin to break free from these stories. We can observe our thoughts without identifying with them. The more we practice, the more we see that our thoughts are just that, thoughts, not facts. By letting go of the need to cling to every thought, we create space for clarity and peace. This is where the practice of mindful speech comes in. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present, of being aware of each moment without judgment. When we speak mindfully, we speak with intention. We are aware of the impact our words have on others and on ourselves. We choose our words carefully, not from habit or impulse, but from a place of presence. As you begin to practice right speech and right thought, you will notice a shift. The more mindful you become, the less reactive you are. The less reactive you are, the more peaceful your life becomes. Right speech and right thought are the keys to breaking the cycle of negativity. They give you the power to shape your reality, to choose peace over conflict, love over anger, and understanding over judgment. Remember, the mind is like a mirror. It reflects back whatever you give it. If you fill your mind with negativity, it will reflect negativity in your speech and actions. But if you fill your mind with love, kindness, and compassion, it will reflect that as well. The choice is yours. In the end, right speech and right thought are about finding harmony within yourself. They are about aligning your inner world with the peaceful, compassionate truth of your being. As you cultivate these practices, you will find that your words carry more weight. They become a force for good in the world. And the more you speak with kindness, the more your life will mirror that kindness. So, take a moment now to reflect. What thoughts are you nurturing? What words are you speaking? Are they helping or hindering your peace? If you find that negativity has taken hold, it's not too late to begin again. Right speech and right thought are practices, not destinations. They are tools you can use each day to create a more peaceful, compassionate world for yourself and those around you. Developing gratitude to counter negative thinking. In our everyday life, there are many things that can easily stir negative thoughts. A stressful day at work, a disagreement with a loved one, or even something as simple as a forgotten task can weigh heavily on the mind. It is easy to fall into the habit of focusing on what's wrong, what's missing, or what's not going as expected. But there is a practice, a way of thinking that can shift this pattern, a way that comes from deep wisdom and understanding. This practice is called gratitude. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you when someone does something kind for you. It is a powerful tool that can transform your entire perspective. When you cultivate gratitude, you are actively choosing to focus on the positive aspects of life rather than letting negativity take over. In Buddhism, gratitude is seen as a form of mindfulness, a way to stay present and aware of the many blessings that surround us, even in the midst of challenges. Think about this for a moment. When was the last time you truly appreciated something in your life? Not just a passing thought of, oh, that's nice, but a deep feeling of gratitude? Gratitude isn't just about the big things, like a new car or a promotion. It's about noticing the small, everyday blessings, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the kindness of a stranger, the laughter of a friend. These are the moments that, when acknowledged with a grateful heart, can shift our mindset from one of lack to one of abundance. It is easy to become consumed by negative thinking when we focus only on what we lack or what isn't going right. But gratitude teaches us to look at the world differently. It reminds us that, no matter how difficult a moment may seem, there is always something good to be found. By practicing gratitude, we begin to shift our mental energy from dwelling on what is missing to appreciating what is already present. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. The darkness doesn't disappear, but the light makes it easier to see the beauty that was always there. In the teachings of the Buddha, gratitude is often linked with mindfulness and impermanence. Everything in life is fleeting. The good moments, the bad moments, they all come and go. Understanding this helps us to not take things for granted, to truly appreciate the moments of peace, kindness, and joy when they come. The more we practice gratitude, the more we see that these moments are all around us, even in times of difficulty. One of the simplest ways to develop gratitude is to start each day with an intention of thankfulness. As soon as you wake up, take a deep breath and think about one thing you are grateful for. It could be something as simple as the fact that you woke up, or it could be something more specific, like the support of a loved one. By starting the day with gratitude, you set the tone for the rest of the day. You remind yourself that, even if the day brings challenges, there are still reasons to be thankful. Another powerful practice is keeping a gratitude journal. Each night before you sleep, Write down 3 things you are grateful for that day. It doesn't matter how big or small they are. Over time, you will begin to see patterns, recognizing just how much goodness is already in your life. You may even find that the more you practice gratitude, the more good things seem to appear in your life. This is not just coincidence. This is the power of shifting your focus to what is working, rather than what isn't. But how does this relate to negative thinking? Negative thoughts often arise when we are focused on what is wrong, what is missing, or what is beyond our control. They thrive in an environment of dissatisfaction and discontent. Gratitude, on the other hand, creates an environment of acceptance and contentment. When we are grateful for what we have, we naturally begin to see less of what we lack. We stop looking for faults, flaws, and imperfections in ourselves, in others, and in the world around us. This shift in perspective doesn't mean that we ignore our struggles, or that we pretend everything is perfect. Gratitude is not about denying reality or ignoring pain. It is about acknowledging that even in the midst of hardship, there is always something to be thankful for. It is about seeing the bigger picture, the fact that life is a combination of both challenges and blessings, joy and sorrow, light and dark. It is through this understanding that we find peace. Gratitude also teaches us to embrace the present moment. Too often, we find ourselves either regretting the past or worrying about the future. Both of these mindsets can fuel negative thinking. We become trapped in thoughts of what we should have done differently or what might go wrong in the future. Gratitude, however, brings us back to the present. It reminds us to focus on what is right in front of us, what is here and now. This mindfulness helps us to let go of unnecessary worries and anxieties, which are often the root cause of negative thoughts. Another key lesson from Buddhism is the idea of equanimity, maintaining mental balance and composure no matter the circumstances. When we practice gratitude, we are building the foundation for equanimity. We learn to remain grounded and peaceful, regardless of external events. This doesn't mean we suppress our emotions, but rather that we choose not to let negative thoughts control us. We choose to respond to life's challenges with an open heart and a clear mind, knowing that we have the power to shift our thoughts at any moment. In the face of negativity, gratitude is a powerful antidote. It's like a shield that protects us from the storms of the mind. The more we practice it, the stronger and more resilient we become. We begin to notice that negative thoughts no longer have the same hold over us. They may still arise, but they no longer define our reality. Instead of being swept away by them, we can stand firm, rooted in gratitude and peace. So, next time you find yourself caught in a spiral of negative thinking, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I grateful for right now? Even in the darkest moments, there is always something small, something simple, that you can appreciate. And by shifting your focus to that, you begin to change the energy of your mind. Slowly but surely, the negative thoughts will lose their power, and the positive, peaceful thoughts will grow stronger. Gratitude is not just a practice, it is a way of life. It is the key to unlocking a life of peace, joy, and clarity. Through gratitude, we learn to see the world with new eyes, and in doing so, we remove the obstacles that keep us trapped in negative thinking. It is a simple yet profound shift, one that can transform your life in ways you never imagined. So, take a moment each day to reflect on what you are thankful for. With each breath of gratitude, you are healing your mind, your heart, and your spirit. And in this healing, you will find the peace you've been seeking all along. Building resilience through detachment. Imagine standing in a vast field, watching the wind blow the leaves of the trees. The leaves swirl, rise, and fall, but they are not in control. They are merely carried by the wind, without attachment to where they land. This is how we can approach life, letting things come and go without holding on. But how can we learn to be like the leaves, unshaken and free? The answer lies in understanding and practicing detachment. Detachment is not about being cold or indifferent. It's not about shutting ourselves off from the world or from the people we love. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Detachment in Buddhism means learning to let go of our attachments to outcomes, ideas, and expectations. It's about freeing ourselves from the chains that bind our hearts and minds. When we become attached to things, whether it's a job, a person, or even a belief, we set ourselves up for suffering. Why? Because life is constantly changing. People change, situations change, and even our own thoughts and feelings change. What once seemed permanent is actually impermanent. Think about a tree in the forest. In the spring, its branches are full of leaves, and it appears strong, proud, and alive. In the fall, those same leaves fall away, and the tree seems bare and exposed. But does the tree suffer when its leaves fall? No. It stands firm through the changing seasons. This is because the tree understands that the leaves are not permanent. Similarly, when we attach ourselves to the things of this world, we forget that they, too, are like the leaves, temporary and ever-changing. Resilience comes from understanding this truth. When we stop clinging to things, we create a space for ourselves where we are not shaken by the winds of change. Just like the tree, we remain grounded, rooted in something deeper than the fleeting moments of life. This is where detachment becomes a source of strength. It allows us to experience life more fully because we are no longer afraid of losing things or people. The fear of loss is what creates stress, anxiety, and negative thoughts. But when we practice detachment, we realize that nothing is truly ours to hold forever. Everything is borrowed, and in that understanding, we find peace. Let's explore how detachment plays out in our daily lives. Think about the times you've become attached to a particular outcome. Maybe you were working hard toward a promotion at work, or perhaps you wanted your relationship to be perfect. When things didn't go as planned, how did you feel? Was there disappointment, frustration, or even anger? These feelings come from attachment to a specific way things should be. In Buddhism, we are taught to release these attachments and to accept whatever comes. This doesn't mean we stop working toward goals or stop caring about the people we love. It simply means we learn to accept whatever comes with an open heart without clinging to how things should be. Think of a river flowing through a landscape. The river does not resist the rocks in its path, nor does it try to cling to the smooth stones it passes over. It flows with grace, accepting everything along its way. Similarly, when we learn to let go of our attachments, we can flow through life with more ease. Detachment allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without being swept away by them. When we're attached to a particular outcome, we become consumed by worry or fear. For instance, if we're attached to the idea of success, failure can feel like a personal defeat. But when we practice detachment, we begin to see that success and failure are just experiences, not definitions of our worth. They are part of the natural flow of life. Here's a simple exercise you can try. Whenever you feel a strong attachment to something, whether it's a desire for something you don't have or fear of losing something you do, take a moment to pause. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Then, imagine that the attachment is a small object in your hand. Now, gently place that object on the ground and watch it disappear. As you do this, repeat to yourself, "This too shall pass." This simple practice can help you detach from the thoughts and emotions that are tied to outcomes. By acknowledging the impermanence of all things, you begin to shift your mindset. You are not defined by what you possess, nor are you controlled by the desires or fears that come and go. It's important to understand that detachment does not mean indifference. When we detach, we still care deeply about our lives, our work, and our loved ones. We simply release the need to control or cling to specific outcomes. We open ourselves to life as it is, rather than constantly trying to shape it into something we think it should be. In Buddhism, the Buddha himself taught that attachment leads to suffering. This is because we are constantly chasing after things that we think will bring us happiness, but when they change or disappear, we experience sorrow. Detachment helps us to see that true happiness does not come from external things, but from the peace we cultivate within ourselves. Let's look at another example. Think about how we often attach ourselves to our identities. We define ourselves by our jobs, our social status, or even our past achievements. But what happens when those things change? When we lose a job, or when our circumstances shift, we may feel like we've lost part of ourselves. The attachment to our identity creates a sense of insecurity. True resilience comes from realizing that our true self is not defined by any of these external labels. Our worth is not tied to our job title or social status. Our worth comes from within. It is the peace we cultivate, the kindness we show, and the wisdom we gain. When we detach from external identities, we free ourselves from the pressure of living up to expectations. The key to building resilience through detachment is to practice it daily. It's a muscle that grows stronger with time. Every time you catch yourself becoming attached to something, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what would happen if I let go of this? The more you practice, the easier it becomes to navigate life's challenges without becoming overwhelmed by them. Detachment also leads to a deeper sense of compassion. When we stop clinging to our own desires and fears, we can truly see and understand the struggles of others. We no longer judge them based on their actions or circumstances, because we realize that we, too, are just human beings doing our best in an ever-changing world. Through detachment, we become less reactive. Instead of getting caught up in the drama of life, we can respond with calmness and clarity. We become like the still pond that reflects the sky, undisturbed by the winds. So, remember, resilience is not about holding on. It's about learning to let go. It's about finding peace in the midst of change and trusting that, no matter what happens, we will be okay. By practicing detachment, we can face life's storms with grace, knowing that we are grounded in something deeper than anything the world can throw our way. Through this practice, we cultivate a heart that is open, strong, and free, able to face any challenge with unwavering peace. Achieving inner peace, the ultimate goal. As we come to the end of this journey, it's important to remember the goal we've been working towards, inner peace. It's the most profound gift you can give to yourself. You see, in life, we often search for peace in external things. We believe that once we have enough money, success, or approval from others, we'll feel at ease. But the truth is, external circumstances can never give us true peace. The only place to find it is within. When you think of peace, what comes to mind? Is it a quiet lake, untouched by wind, reflecting the sky perfectly? Or is it a moment when everything in your life seems just right? These moments of peace are wonderful, but they are fleeting. They are moments. True inner peace is not about having the perfect conditions around you. It's about cultivating peace within, no matter what is happening outside. This is where the teachings of Buddhism come in. Buddhism teaches us that inner peace comes from within and that we have the power to find it, regardless of the circumstances. It is not something that we can achieve by striving for something outside of us. Instead, it's about letting go of attachments, expectations, and fears that disturb the natural peace within our hearts. So, how do we find this peace? How do we achieve it and hold on to it? The first step is to remember that peace is not the absence of conflict or challenges. In fact, life is full of difficulties. There will always be challenges, pain, and loss. What we must understand is that inner peace is the ability to remain calm, steady, and grounded in the face of these challenges. It's about learning not to be swept away by the storms of life, but to stand strong, like a tree in the wind. One of the most powerful practices to cultivate inner peace is mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to be fully present in each moment, without judgment or distraction. When you are mindful, you are aware of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. You understand what is happening inside of you, and you learn not to be controlled by your reactions. This practice helps you to detach from negative thoughts, worries, and anxieties. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by them, you observe them as they pass by like clouds in the sky. Another essential practice is compassion. When we have compassion for ourselves and others, we create a heart of peace. Compassion allows us to let go of anger, resentment, and hatred, which only disturb our peace. When you feel angry or upset, practice bringing compassion into your heart. Instead of reacting with hostility, ask yourself, how can I bring kindness to this moment? In time, your heart will become a place of calm and kindness, even in the face of conflict. Letting go is also a crucial part of achieving inner peace. So often, we cling to things, people, ideas, beliefs, and even memories that cause us suffering. We hold on tightly to expectations of how things should be, and when reality doesn't match our expectations, we become frustrated and unhappy. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring or that we withdraw from life. It means we stop clinging to outcomes and accept things as they are. This doesn't mean we don't have dreams or goals, but we hold them loosely, knowing that life may unfold in ways we cannot predict. The practice of meditation is another path to inner peace. Meditation is not about escaping life. It's about connecting with the deepest part of yourself. Through meditation, you train your mind to be still, to focus, and to release the grip of negative thoughts and emotions. In the stillness of meditation, you experience a sense of peace that transcends the chaos of the world. It is a peace that is always available to you, no matter where you are or what is happening around you. As you continue to cultivate mindfulness, compassion, letting go, and meditation, you begin to experience a shift. Over time, the negative thoughts and emotions that once ruled your mind lose their power. Instead of being controlled by fear, anger, and attachment, you start to feel a deep sense of calm and clarity. Your mind becomes like a calm pond, clear and undisturbed by the winds of worry. But remember, this journey is ongoing. Inner peace is not a destination. It is a lifelong practice. There will be times when you lose your way, when the storms of life shake you, when negative thoughts try to take over. But with practice, you will learn to return to your center, to your peace. And each time you return, it will be easier. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to live in a state of peace, no matter what is happening around you. In Buddhism, there is a saying, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that true peace is not something that can be found in the world or in external achievements. It is something that we cultivate within ourselves through our thoughts, our actions, and our state of mind. As you reflect on these teachings, ask yourself, what is the source of your inner peace? Do you look for peace in external things, or do you find it within yourself? If you have been struggling with negative thoughts and emotions, know that you have the power to change. You can choose to cultivate peace within you, no matter what is happening in your life. Let go of the past. The past cannot be changed, and dwelling on it only brings suffering. The moment you let go of past regrets, grudges, and old wounds, you free yourself. You free yourself to experience the present moment, where peace exists. Embrace impermanence. Everything in life changes, and when we accept this truth, we stop clinging to things that will inevitably pass. Life becomes easier when we don't hold on too tightly to the things or people around us. We learn to flow with life, like water in a stream, rather than resisting it. Live with intention. In each moment, choose peace. Choose compassion. Choose mindfulness. When you make these choices, you begin to align yourself with your true nature, the peaceful, loving, and wise part of you that has always been there. As we conclude this series, I want to remind you that inner peace is not something you achieve once and for all. It is a state of being that you nurture every day. It is a practice, a way of living, that will guide you through all of life's ups and downs. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope these teachings have brought you closer to the peace and clarity that reside within you. May you continue to walk the path of mindfulness, compassion, and inner peace, and may your mind always be clear, your heart full of love, and your life filled with calm. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. By subscribing, you're not just joining a channel, you're committing to a life of growth, wisdom, and peace. May peace be with you always.